Thank you, Madam Chair. All protocols observed. I come this evening with a different slant. I am not an academic, no part of me. I, like my father, went to the Common Sense University, and we got degrees in business. But I've been associated with the education system since the last 45 years. We have 4 sons, all went to St. Agnes's and then to St. Stanislaus. And I have a deep commitment to Saints because my father was the first president of the Alumni Association in 1943, the year before I was born. But I have been with the system for the last 45 years. I've seen the involvement that has taken place, and I think I'm disappointed in where we are right now. No disrespect to anyone within the ministry. These are just my thoughts. And I think it has reached a stage where we need to think outside the box. You can't continue to do the same thing we're doing for the last 50 years and expect something different to happen. At the time of our independence in 1966, our free secondary program was limited to successful scholarship students admitted to Queen's College, Bishop's High School, Burbis High School. The 3 recognized secondary church schools, St. Stanislaus College, St. Rose's High, and St. Joseph's High, did accept a limited amount of scholarship students, but in the main, fees were paid. In the early 70s, Guyana's economy was doing fairly well, and we were also the beneficiary of a huge price hike for its sugar on the world market. It was that windfall that prompted the government to decide to use the resulting good fortune to provide free education from nursery to university, inclusive of books and uniforms, which was meant to provide equal opportunity for all. Just as the sugar price spiked, it was not long before the price fell significantly, and up went the oil price, which made the generous gift of free education very difficult to afford. This resulted in a depression of wages in the public sector, which severely affected the teaching profession, making the career of teaching less attractive to the bright youngsters leaving school. The government has since allowed the introduction of private schools. Among other things, this means that those who could afford the costs of fees and extra lessons from the best teachers are able to gain a better foundation. Recently, the trend has been that the students who attend private schools are performing better at the National Grade 6 assessment than their counterparts in the public schools. To the extent that this is so, then those students who attend fee-paying schools are the ones that gain entry into the top secondary schools, further undermining the goal of equal opportunity to all and equity in education. There is no short-term fix of our system. It has taken 50 years to get where we are, and it will take decades to correct what presently exists. We need to start by attracting a brighter, better qualified school leavers into the teaching profession, which could only be done by making the teaching profession more attractive. And this is where outside the box comes in. Some suggestions would be, have all trained qualified teachers allow their remuneration free of income tax. I know I'll get some cheers. Duty-free transportation entitlement be granted at the end of an agreed period of satisfactory service. And after further satisfactory period of service, the teacher will be entitled to a house lot, together with concessionary low-interest financing to construct a modest 2-bedroom house. Now, it's the point that's given a house lot and not helping them to finance it, because what happens is what happens now. You have house lot and no building. Professional development. It is felt that the management of the education sector also needs extensive review. In the last 12 years, since we've been on the board, we have had 5 education ministers, all of whom have been transient and were unable to consider their tenure as long-term career assignment. Their emphasis seems as though the focus was on short-term solutions, supported by public relations campaign to make the system seem to be functioning well while they were at the helm. Our emphasis in this exercise should require a total audit review of the present management system. Because of the nature of the ministry, to be successful, it must have a long-term plan, which is unlikely to occur with short-term ministerial assignments, as has become the norm. This is unlikely to change in the future, so it is being suggested that the role of the minister should be that of the chairman of the ministry, which is managed on a day-to-day basis by a team of highly qualified, well-trained professionals headed by a chief executive officer, no disrespect to the chief education officer, with at least 2 competent deputies equally well qualified. In reviewing the present system, there needs to be performance appraisals done with the existing staff to determine our human resource needs, considered necessary to allow for the proposed transition. Having succeeded in making the teaching profession more attractive, we need to ensure that once certified, teachers be made to continue to follow a program of professional development to prepare them for being more competent to accept their roles as guidance counselors, heads of departments, senior teachers, and appointments as head or deputies when being considered. This subject requires far more time, and for that purpose I have in fact prepared, and it is at the entrance for distribution, a more comprehensive document on the thoughts on these matters. I really take this opportunity to thank the University of Guyana for giving me the opportunity to say what I've said and hope that something comes out of it.